Before there was a World Cup, there was a game. A beautiful, chaotic, passionate game. Football, or soccer as Americans call it, has roots stretching back thousands of years. Ancient Chinese soldiers played a game called kuju, kicking a leather ball through a small net. The Greeks had episkairos. The Aztecs played tlachtli. But the modern game we know today was born in England. In 1863, in a small tavern in London called the Freemasons' Tavern, a group of men gathered and wrote down the official rules of association football. Those 13 rules changed the world forever. The sport spread like wildfire through British sailors, merchants, and soldiers, from Europe to South America to Africa and beyond. Football was not just a game anymore. It was a language that everyone spoke. By the early 1900s, football had conquered the world. But there was a problem. Every country played by different rules. There were no international competitions, no governing body, and pure chaos. By the early 1900s, football had spread to every corner of the globe. But there was a massive problem. Every nation played by its own rules, used different balls, and had no shared competition. Then on May 21st, 1904, in the beautiful city of Paris, France, history was made. 7 nations gathered in one room with one shared mission: France, Belgium, Denmark, the Netherlands, Spain, Sweden, and Switzerland. Together they founded FIFA, the Fédération Internationale de Football Association, a single governing body to unite the world through football. 7 founding nations, one dream, one game for all of humanity. But England, the very nation that invented the game, refused to join at first. They believed they needed no one to govern their own sport. But eventually, they came around and joined FIFA. Even the most stubborn pride cannot resist the power of the beautiful game. FIFA's mission was crystal clear: standardize the rules, grow the game, and one day create a single global competition. For years, FIFA presidents debated and planned a single tournament to crown the best team on earth. The driving force behind it all was FIFA president Jules Rimet, a Frenchman with an extraordinary vision. He believed football could bring peace to a world torn apart by 2 world wars. Football had its governing body. It had its rules. Now it needed its greatest stage. After years of negotiations, Uruguay was selected as host of the very first FIFA World Cup, a small South American nation about to host the biggest sporting event ever attempted. The year was 1930. The world was about to witness something it had never seen before. The first ever FIFA World Cup, July 1930. 13 nations accepted the invitation to compete in the very first FIFA World Cup. Most European nations refused to make the grueling 2-week journey by ship across the Atlantic Ocean. The voyage was long, expensive, and exhausting. Only 4 European teams made the trip: France, Belgium, Romania, and Yugoslavia. They sailed together on the same ship, becoming friends before they became opponents. When the teams finally arrived in Montevideo, the capital of Uruguay, they were greeted like heroes. An entire nation was ready to celebrate. A brand new stadium had been built especially for the tournament, the Estadio Centenario, named to celebrate 100 years of Uruguayan independence. On July 13, 1930, the very first World Cup match kicked off. France against Mexico. France won 4-1. Lucien Laurent of France scored the very first goal in World Cup history, a moment that would echo through football forever. The tournament produced its first shock when the United States reached the semifinals, a team of ordinary Americans stunning the football world. Then came the final: Uruguay against Argentina, 2 neighboring nations and bitter rivals facing each other for the greatest prize in football. On July 30th, 1930, over 93,000 fans packed the Estadio Centenario. The noise was deafening. The tension was unlike anything the world had ever seen at a sporting event. Argentina led at halftime by 2-1. Uruguay faced an uphill battle in front of their own fans. But in the second half, Uruguay turned the game completely around. They scored 3 goals to win the first ever World Cup final 4-2. Uruguay captain Jose Nasazzi lifted the very first World Cup trophy. Players wept. Fans rushed onto the pitch. The president of Uruguay declared a national holiday. The entire country celebrated through the night. The Jules Rimet trophy, small and golden at just 35 centimeters tall, had found its first champion. A tradition that would last forever had just been born. The FIFA World Cup had taken its first breath. 13 nations, 1 tournament, 1 champion. And the world would never be the same again. After Uruguay's triumph, the World Cup returned in 1934, this time hosted by Italy. Italy won on home soil, and their dictator Benito Mussolini used the victory as a symbol of fascist power. Players were pressured to perform not just for their nation, but for a political ideology. Football had become a weapon of propaganda. In 1938, France hosted the World Cup. Italy won again, becoming back-to-back world champions. But dark clouds were gathering over Europe. Then the world fell into darkness. World War II erupted across the globe, consuming nations and costing millions of lives. The 1942 and 1946 World Cups were both canceled. For 12 long years, the world's greatest football tournament fell completely silent. When the war finally ended, the world desperately needed something to celebrate, something to heal its wounds and remind humanity of joy. In 1950, the World Cup finally returned, hosted by the vibrant, football-mad nation of Brazil. The world rejoiced that the beautiful game was back. For the first time ever, England entered the World Cup. The inventors of football were finally ready to show the world who was truly the best. England's first opponents were the United States, a team of part-time players, postal workers, teachers, and factory workers who played football for fun. Nobody gave America any chance at all. The final score, United States 1, England 0. One of the biggest upsets in the history of sport. Newspaper editors back in England refused to believe the score. Some changed the result to 10-1 before publishing, assuming it had to be a misprint. The tournament built toward a dramatic finale at the legendary Maracanazo Stadium in Rio de Janeiro. Built to hold over 200,000 people, it was the largest stadium on Earth. 200,000 fans packed the Maracana for the deciding match between Brazil and Uruguay. It remains the largest crowd ever to watch a football match in history. Brazil scored first and the stadium shook with celebration. They needed just a draw to be crowned world champions. Victory felt inevitable. Then Uruguay equalized. A hush began to fall over 200,000 people. And then Alcides Gigia of Uruguay struck again, 2-1 for Uruguay. The unthinkable had happened. Silence. Pure, devastating silence across 200,000 people. Grown men wept openly. Some fans collapsed. Others simply could not move. Brazil had lost the World Cup they were certain was theirs. In Brazil, they call it O Maracanazo, the catastrophe of the Maracana. A wound so deep it scarred an entire nation for generations. Uruguay were world champions for the second time. They had broken the hearts of 200,000 people and an entire nation. Football had shown once again that nothing is ever certain.
In a small, poor neighborhood in the city of Santos, Brazil, a boy was growing up with nothing but a ball and a dream. His name was Edson Arantes do Nascimento. The world would come to know him simply as Pele. By the age of 15, Pele was already playing professional football for Santos FC. Coaches, fans, and opponents all knew they were watching something extraordinary. In 1958, Brazil traveled to Sweden for the World Cup. Among their squad was a 17-year-old boy who had never played in a World Cup before. Pele became the youngest player ever to appear in a World Cup finals match. He was unstoppable, scoring 6 goals, including a hat trick in the semi-final. In the final against Sweden, Pele scored twice as Brazil won 5-2. A 17-year-old had just won the World Cup. The football world had never seen anything like it. After the final whistle, Pele collapsed in tears. Teammates carried him on their shoulders across the pitch. At 17 years old, he was a world champion. In 1962, in Chile, Brazil won the World Cup again. Pele was injured early in the tournament, but his teammates proved Brazil was more than just one man. Back-to-back world champions. In 1966, England hosted and won the World Cup on home soil at Wembley Stadium. Captain Bobby Moore lifted the trophy to the roar of nearly 100,000 fans. It remains England's only World Cup victory to this day. But for Brazil and Pele, 1966 was painful. Opposing defenders targeted Pele with brutal physical fouls. Brazil were eliminated in the group stage. Pele vowed never to play in another World Cup. But Pele changed his mind. He had unfinished business with the World Cup. In 1970, in Mexico, he would return for one final unforgettable chapter. The 1970 Brazil squad is still considered by many as the greatest international football team ever assembled. Pele, Jairzinho, Rivellino, Tostão, and Gerson. Every position filled with a genius. They played football like no team before or since. Fast, fluid, creative, and devastating. Every match was a masterclass in the beautiful game. In the 1970 final against Italy, Pele opened the scoring with a powerful header. Brazil went on to win 4-1. It was a performance of breathtaking brilliance. Carlos Alberto's thundering final goal, created by a flowing team move, is still considered one of the greatest goals ever scored. Football had never looked so perfect. Because Brazil had now won the World Cup 3 times, they were awarded the Jules Rimet Trophy permanently. It belonged to Brazil forever. Pele had now won 3 World Cups, a record that stands to this day and may never be broken. He is the only player in history to achieve it. The 1970 World Cup was broadcast on color television for the first time. Billions of people around the world watched Brazil's brilliance in vivid color. Football had never reached so many hearts at once. The Pele era was over, but the legacy he left behind was immortal. He had shown the world what football could be at its absolute greatest. With Brazil's dynasty over, a new power was rising in world football: West Germany. Organized, clinical, and utterly relentless. Their captain was Franz Beckenbauer, known as the Kaiser, an elegant sweeper who revolutionized the role of the defensive player. Cool, commanding, and always in total control. Up front was Gerd Müller, nicknamed Der Bomber, one of the most deadly goal scorers the World Cup had ever seen. Short, powerful, and lethal inside the penalty area. But Germany's greatest challengers were the Netherlands, who introduced football to a revolutionary new philosophy. They called it total football. Total football meant every player could play in any position on the pitch. Defenders attacked, forwards defended, and the system moved like a living, breathing organism. Its genius was Johann Cruyff, the most elegant footballer of his generation. The 1974 World Cup final pitted West Germany against the Netherlands. It was a clash of 2 completely different football philosophies. The Netherlands scored a penalty in the very first minute, before West Germany had even touched the ball. The Dutch were brilliant, inventive, and seemingly unstoppable. But West Germany fought back with the discipline and character that would define German football for decades. Gerd Müller scored the winning goal, and West Germany were world champions. Franz Beckenbauer lifted a brand new trophy. A new FIFA World Cup had replaced the Jules Rimet, and West Germany were the first to hold it. In 1978, Argentina hosted the World Cup for the first time. The iconic blue and white ticker tape of Buenos Aires created one of the most visually stunning atmospheres in World Cup history. Mario Kempes, with his long, flowing hair, became the symbol of Argentina's triumph. He scored twice in the final as Argentina beat the Netherlands and were crowned world champions for the first time. In 1982, Spain hosted the largest World Cup yet, expanded to 24 teams. more nations, more stories, and more drama than ever before. Brazil in 1982 played some of the most beautiful attacking football ever witnessed. Zico, Socrates, and Falcao created moments of pure magic. The world fell in love with them. But Italy's Paolo Rossi, returning from a 2-year match-fixing ban, produced one of the greatest individual World Cup performances ever. He scored a hat-trick to eliminate Brazil and went on to win the Golden Boot with 6 goals. Italy won the 1982 World Cup, their 3rd title. Their captain and goalkeeper, Dino Zoff, lifted the trophy at the age of 40, the oldest captain ever to win the World Cup. By 1982, the World Cup had truly become a global event. Nations from every continent were competing, and billions of fans were watching. The stage was now set for the most legendary chapter of all. One player had left Spain in 1982, frustrated and hungry. Argentina's young genius, Diego Maradona, had been sent off and his nation eliminated. But 4 years later in Mexico, he would deliver something the world had never seen before. Mexico, 1986. The World Cup had come to North America for the 2nd time, and the world's greatest player was about to produce the world's greatest performance. Diego Armando Maradona arrived in Mexico as the best player on the planet. Compact, explosive, and carrying the hopes of an entire nation on his shoulders. But this World Cup carried a weight far beyond football for Argentina. Just 4 years earlier, in 1982, Argentina and England had fought the Falklands War. Soldiers had died on both sides. On June 22, 1986, Argentina faced England in the World Cup quarter-final at the Azteca Stadium. 115,000 fans packed inside. This was no ordinary football match. The first half was goalless and ferociously competitive. England were organized, and Argentina were frustrated. Then the 51st minute arrived and changed football history forever. Maradona punched the ball into the England net with his left hand. The referee did not see it. The goal was given. England players surrounded the referee in fury. They had all seen the handball clearly, but the goal stood. After the match, Maradona was asked about the goal. He smiled and said it was scored a little with the head of Maradona and a little with the hand of God. The phrase became immortal. But 4 minutes after the hand of God, something miraculous happened. Maradona received the ball deep in his own half with 5 England players between him and the goal. He began to run. Past the first defender, then the second, past the third defender and the fourth. The entire England team was being dismantled by a single human being. 115,000 fans were rising to their feet. He went around the goalkeeper, and with an almost empty net in front of him, he rolled the ball home. He had dribbled 60 meters, beaten 5 outfield players and the goalkeeper, and scored the greatest goal ever seen at a World Cup. FIFA later voted it the goal of the century. 2 goals in the same match, one a cheat that outraged the world, one a masterpiece that left the world speechless. That was Diego Maradona. Argentina marched through the tournament to reach the final against West Germany. Maradona was unstoppable, creating and scoring at will throughout the entire tournament. Argentina won the final, 3-2 in a dramatic comeback. Jorge Burruchaga scored the winner in the final minutes after Germany had fought back from 2 goals down. Maradona lifted the World Cup trophy to the heavens. He had carried Argentina almost single-handedly to the greatest prize in football. In Argentina, the streets exploded with celebration. For millions of Argentinians, Maradona had not just won a football tournament. He had given an entire nation its pride back. Diego Maradona was more than a footballer. He was flawed, controversial, and at times dishonest. But in Mexico in 1986, he touched the very peak of what any human being has ever achieved in sport. He remains the most extraordinary player the World Cup has ever seen. Italia, 1990. The World Cup returned to Europe with a grandeur and drama that signaled football was entering a spectacular new era. The tournament produced immediate shocks when Cameroon, led by the extraordinary 38-year-old Roger Milla, defeated the defending champions Argentina. Africa had arrived at the World Cup. Roger Milla's joyful corner flag dance celebration became one of the most iconic images in World Cup history. At 38 years old, he was the oldest player ever to score at a World Cup. England came agonizingly close to the final. When Paul Gascoigne received a yellow card in the semi-final, knowing he would miss the final if England won, his tears became one of the most unforgettable images in football history. England lost on penalties to West Germany in the semi-final. It was a heartbreak that defined a generation of English football fans. West Germany won the 1990 World Cup, beating Argentina 1-0 in the final through a penalty. It was the year Germany would reunify as a nation, making the victory even more symbolic. In 1994, the World Cup arrived in the United States of America. A nation that called the sport soccer and barely understood it was about to fall in love with it. Over 3.5 million fans attended matches during the tournament, still the highest total attendance in World Cup history. Americans discovered football, and football discovered America. The final between Brazil and Italy ended goalless after extra time and went to a penalty shootout. Italy's greatest player, Roberto Baggio, stepped up to take the decisive final penalty. Baggio missed. His penalty flew over the crossbar and into the California sky. He stood alone, head bowed, hands on hips. That image broke the hearts of millions around the world. Brazil were world champions for the 4th time. Romario and Bebeto had been unstoppable throughout the tournament, forming one of the greatest striking partnerships in World Cup history. In 1998, France hosted a World Cup expanded to 32 teams for the first time. The tournament of the modern era had truly arrived. France's Zinedine Zidane delivered a stunning performance in the final, scoring twice with headers against Brazil. France won 3-0 and were crowned world champions on home soil. Over 1 million people flooded the Champs-Élysées in Paris to celebrate. It was the greatest street party France had ever seen. In 2002, the World Cup made history by being hosted jointly by Japan and South Korea, the first time the tournament had ever been held in Asia. South Korea produced one of the greatest stories in World Cup history, defeating Portugal, Spain, and Italy to reach the semi-finals. Their passionate, red-clad fans created one of the most electric atmospheres ever seen at a World Cup. Brazil won the 2002 World Cup, with Ronaldo scoring twice in the final against Germany. It was a stunning personal redemption for Ronaldo, who had suffered a mysterious illness before the 1998 final. Germany 2006 became known as the Summer Fairy Tale. The host nation played joyful, attacking football, and the tournament produced a warm, celebratory atmosphere across the entire country. But the 2006 final produced the most shocking moment of the tournament. Zinedine Zidane, playing his final professional match, headbutted Italy's Marco Materazzi and was sent off. Italy won on penalties, and Zidane's brilliant career ended in heartbreak. The 2006 World Cup was watched by 26 billion people across the planet over the course of the tournament. Football had become the undisputed greatest show on Earth. But the most dramatic chapters were still to come. 2010. For the first time in history, the FIFA World Cup was held on African soil. South Africa welcomed the world with open arms and the unmistakable sound of the vuvuzela. Spain dazzled the world with their revolutionary tiki-taka style of football, short passes, relentless movement, and total domination of the ball. Xavi, Iniesta, and Villa were poetry in motion. In the final against the Netherlands, Andres Iniesta scored in extra time to give Spain their first ever World Cup title. Iniesta removed his shirt to reveal a tribute to his friend and former teammate, Antonio Puerta, who had died 3 years earlier. The 2010 World Cup also marked the arrival of a debate that would consume football for the next decade. Who was the greatest player on the planet? Lionel Messi of Argentina or Cristiano Ronaldo of Portugal? In Brazil 2014, Messi carried Argentina through the tournament almost single-handedly. He scored 4 goals and created countless others, winning the Golden Ball as best player of the tournament. But the 2014 tournament will forever be remembered for one extraordinary result. Germany destroyed the host nation Brazil 7-1 in the semi-final. In Brazil, they call it the Mineirazo, a catastrophe to match even the Maracanazo of 1950. Germany beat Argentina 1-0 in the final through a stunning extra-time goal from substitute Mario Götze. Germany were world champions for the 4th time, and Messi had again come agonizingly close but left empty-handed. Messi received the Golden Ball trophy as best player of the tournament. He held it with an expression of pure devastation. The greatest player in the world had still never won the greatest prize in football. Russia 2018 brought the World Cup to Eastern Europe for the first time. The tournament was full of surprises from the very first day. The tournament introduced the world to a 19-year-old French teenager named Kylian Mbappé. Explosive, fearless, and impossibly gifted, he announced himself as the next great player of his generation. France won the 2018 World Cup final against Croatia 4-2 in Moscow. Mbappé scored in the final, becoming only the second teenager in history after Pele to score in a World Cup final. Qatar 2022 was the most controversial World Cup in history. The first held in the Middle East, and the first played in November and December rather than the traditional summer months. Morocco became the first African and Arab nation ever to reach the semi-finals of a World Cup. Their journey captivated the entire Arab world and inspired a continent. The 2022 World Cup final between Argentina and France became the greatest final in the history of the tournament. Argentina led 2-0 with Messi scoring a penalty and looked certain to win. Then, Kylian Mbappé produced the most stunning individual performance in World Cup final history. He scored twice in 97 seconds to equalize at 2-2, and then scored a third to make it 3-3 after extra time. The match went to a penalty shootout. The entire planet held its breath. Every kick felt like the weight of the world. Argentina won the penalty shootout. At 35 years old, on what would likely be his last World Cup, Lionel Messi had finally won the one trophy that had eluded him his entire career. Messi dropped to his knees and wept. Teammates buried him in embraces. An entire nation of 45 million Argentinians wept with him. When Messi lifted the World Cup trophy wearing the traditional black bisht robe draped over his Argentina shirt, the image became one of the most iconic photographs in the history of sport. His journey was complete. The greatest player who ever lived had won the greatest prize in football. In Buenos Aires, 5 million people flooded the streets in the largest celebration in Argentine history. The World Cup had delivered its greatest ever story, and now the next chapter was about to begin.
And here we are, 2026. The FIFA World Cup has returned to North America, jointly hosted by the United States, Mexico, and Canada. The first World Cup ever hosted across 3 nations simultaneously. For the first time in history, 48 nations are competing, 16 more than any previous World Cup. More stories, more heroes, more heartbreak, and more magic than ever before. The United States is hosting 16 matches across 11 iconic venues, from MetLife Stadium in New York to the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, from AT&T Stadium in Dallas to Hard Rock Stadium in Miami. The greatest stadiums in America are hosting the greatest tournament on Earth. Mexico's legendary Azteca Stadium, which hosted the 1970 and 1986 World Cup finals, is once again a World Cup venue. The same pitch where Pele dazzled and Maradona created the goal of the century. America has fallen in love with the beautiful game. Over 54 million viewers watched the opening matches in the United States alone. Record after record is being shattered as the tournament unfolds. The United States men's national team is competing on home soil for the first time at a World Cup since 1994. They carry the weight and the joy of an entire nation that has waited decades for this moment.
Across America, cities have been transformed by the World Cup. Fan zones, watch parties, and street celebrations in every major city from New York to Los Angeles. America has never experienced anything quite like this before. Fans from every corner of the planet have descended on North America. Brazilian samba in the streets of New York, Mexican passion in Dallas, English pubs in Los Angeles. The world has come to America, and America is welcoming the world. On June 16, 2026, 281,000 fans attended World Cup matches in a single day. A new all-time record for the most fans ever to watch the World Cup on a single day. A new generation of superstars is competing for immortality. Kylian Mbappe hunting a second World Cup title, Vinicius Jr. carrying Brazil's dream, and dozens of new heroes writing their names into history with every match. Somewhere in these stadiums, a player is writing the next great chapter of World Cup history, the next Pele moment, the next Hand of God, the next Messi in the Bisht. We just do not know it yet. From 13 teams making a 2-week boat journey to Uruguay in 1930, to 48 nations competing across 3 countries in 2026. 96 years, 22 tournaments, one extraordinary, unbroken dream. The FIFA World Cup is not just a football tournament. It is the greatest gathering of humanity on Earth. A moment when borders dissolve, languages unite, and 8 billion people share one heartbeat. Somewhere right now, a child is watching their first ever World Cup match. Their eyes are wide with wonder, and somewhere in that child is the next Pele, the next Maradona, the next Messi. The story never ends. The FIFA World Cup began with a ball, a dream, and 13 nations on a boat. Today, it stands as the most watched, most loved, and most powerful sporting event in human history. And as long as there is a ball and a dream, it will never stop growing. This is football. This is history. This is the FIFA World Cup, and the greatest chapter may still be yet to come.